the difference in Lith printing compared to black and white is primarily the effects that you get with toning and with texture in the print. The tones will range anywhere from very soft, warm tones of maybe some salmony tones all the way to some very, very intense hot tones in oranges and yellows and ochres and things like that. The workflow is very different because the amount of time that you spend in the enlarger with the print, the amount of exposure you give the paper basically, is that determines what the colors that you're going to get in the midtones in the print. Alright, this is an example of what I'm talking about. This is basically a black and white negative with black and white developing paper or enlarging paper, and the tones that you see in here are dependent on this particular type of emulsion that's in this paper, as well as the strength and the amount of exhaustion that the developer has gone through. One of the things that you'll notice in this image are the colors. These very warm tones that you have in here are part of the process for Lith printing, and again is something that is dependent on the maturity of the developer or the length of time the developer has been in the tray. These other colors that you see, there's some posturized greens and such, is a result of a second bath that you would do with the print in putting it into an omega. One of the other characteristics of Lith is the way that the shadows or the dark areas in the print develop out, and as part of the infectious process of the Lith developer, when the shadows start to form, you're at or very close to the snatch point where you have to pull the print out of the developer immediately. Don't let it drain, put it right into the stop bath and kill the development. Alright, the grain in the emulsion when the blacks and the shadows start to develop out is very rapid, and the best illustration of it is that it's very much like popcorn when you're popping popcorn in a kettle. It's slow, it goes pop, 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 and then it's very accelerated, and this is what happens in this. You could be in the developer for anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes to 30 minutes, 45 minutes even sometimes. And everything is going along very, very smoothly and very evenly in terms of getting all these nice, beautiful, warm tones in the mid-tones. But when the blacks start to develop out and the shadows start to come in, the process accelerates very rapidly. And this is when you have to really be paying attention to whatever marker you have or in the image that you want to have come out in the tray before you snatch it out. And again, you snatch it out and you throw it immediately into the stop bath to kill the development. All right, so we're back again, and this is the scene of the crime. In talking about the process, we also should talk about the paper, and we should talk about the chemicals. The paper that I primarily use is Foma paper. This is from the Czechoslovakian, the Czech Republic. They have the best tones for my purposes. There are other papers that can be used, and other people have their favorites as well. This is the one that I use primarily. The chemicals that I use are also primarily, excuse me, these are Lith chemicals from Wolfgang Morisch from Germany. He's a master Lith printer and a chemist as well. His stuff can be gotten from Freestyle. And I use the SE5 system. There's also an Easy Lith system. The chemicals, once you have mixed your A and your B, which is your sodium bromide and sulfides, they shouldn't be mixed until they're ready to use because they begin to exhaust almost immediately. Once you've mixed the chemicals, you also add what is known as Old Brown. Here's the Old Brown jug for it. And it's a little bit of the developer from the last batch of the developer that you made. And it's sort of like, this is where the alchemy comes in, because it begins to be like making sourdough bread or something. You have a starter that you add into it to help to speed along the process of maturing the chemicals. Here we are at the wet side of the darkroom, and once you've got your exposure from the enlarger and you move it over to your developing tray, your normal time, if you were looking at doing a standard black and white print, could be anywhere in the ballpark of 2 minutes in the developer. However, with Lith, you're looking at anywhere from 5 or 6 minutes on the very short end to as much as 20 minutes to a half an hour to even 40 minutes in the developer before you reach that snatch point. Now, when you have your Lith developer, you're going to have a part A and a part B, and when you mix the appropriate amount of A and B into distilled water, by the way, and you put it into the developing tray and you add your old brown. There are also, when you get your chemicals from Wolfgang, you're going to get a part C, D, and an E. So you have some other restrainers and some other ways of controlling what sometimes comes out as pepper fogging or something to restrain the time that different areas of the print start to develop out. Okay. All right, I use the Thomas Safe Light. It doesn't seem to give any problems to this particular paper, and we're going to do just a little bit of a trial run here to show what happens. So if you want to, we're going to go to dark for a while because I'm going to turn the light out and leave the safe light on. It's almost impossible to try to cover all of the subtleties and all the variances that you can do with Lith printing in such a short little video like this. But I'm going to have a email address on my website, and you can certainly go there and ask questions, and I'd be more than happy to talk to anybody who has any questions or concerns about the process. Well, what you see here is what you would get with a paper negative, and this particular paper negative, if you look very closely at the blacks, there's some banding in the blacks. You have that characteristic of a paper negative, and on the print itself we have color, which is wonderful, and you can see that there are some very warm tones that are coming in here with these sort of ochres and things. The dry down will give you a different color as well, but it's an interesting effect with what we would expect to have as a clear area back here that would get color. We're seeing where the light from the enlarger went through.